Rid of all that.
Ask Einstein.
Okay, next.
You answered the question, because I've been getting a lot of pressure from the family, get your flu shot, you're in weakened condition, have chemo. And I want to give them kind of a 20 words or less, instead of them just thinking I'm stubborn, say, no, I'm not going to do it. Something, the explanation you give, we understand. There you go. I don't know how to tell them that. I said, when they said, you're in a weakened condition, you need that flu shot, and I said, I'm in a weakened condition, why would I want to put that in me?
Yeah, good.
Is that it? Is that what I?
That's exactly it.
What?
There is no statistics that any vaccine works.
That's right.
No?
Not one.
Okay.
There is no laboratory test that prove that any vaccine works.
Right.
Any at all. It is all theoretical.
Right.
And
And where would that research information be found? I mean,
it's all over the internet.
It's all over the
Yeah,
internet?
all over the internet.
Okay.
You put in
Someone tells
vaccines
you,
and you
yeah.
go into those vaccine websites that are not medically produced, you'll find a lot of information.
Don't they have mercury in the
Yeah.
vaccines also?
Mostly. Most of them do.
Yeah, affects the nerves, mercury.
Yep, with the thimerosal, yep.
Who knows what they're experimenting?
Plus
Oh,
That's terrible.
I think they're out for genocide.
Yeah.
Someone's phone.
Shut off your phone.
Okay,
And
yes.
I want to tell everybody, because I am so thrilled, I've been on the diet 6 months, and I don't have hypoglycemia anymore. I couldn't go 2 hours without eating.
Wow.
I would shake, I'd get so weak, disoriented. I mean, I was a mess. And I can go all day, which is not good, but when I can't get food, it's wonderful not to have that problem anymore.
What's
It's
hypoglycemia?
just-
Over
and I think
low
it's-
blood sugar.
Low blood sugar.
Yes, it would just drop all the time, all the time. And now I can't, it's like a new life. I just, and I think it's the protein from the meat. or
Protein
something.
and the fats together.
And that's,
And how many months were you on the diet before you had your surgery on your breast?
how many months?
Was it
Well, when
1
I got
month?
diagnosed and I met you.
Was it only 1 month you ate the raw diet before you had surgery? And your tumor was way smaller than
Oh,
what it
no,
was?
that was 6 months because I had the chemo, remember, which left me totally depleted. But once I started on the diet even more, because I was eating the raw meat, oh, God.
You mean after I gave you a specific
Yes.
diet for you, then your energy went
Yes,
down?
definitely the meat was for that.
Oh, I just thought,
And the fat.
I just thought you told me that when you finally got your surgery, the doctors were amazed that instead of the tumor being the size of a
7,
grapefruit, it was
yeah.
only a little
It
thing.
was a size
Minuscule.
7 centimeters,
Yeah.
and once they took it out and dissected, it was 1.
That's like nothing, it's almost like
And I'm
you
saying,
need
well,
surgery.
why did you do surgery? Why, there was
Right,
only
yeah.
1, couldn't you find that out in the biopsy?
It wouldn't make any.
No, you were shrinking, and by the time they got to surgery, it had shrunk so much. They didn't know it had
I
shrunk.
feel like it was a miracle.
Plus biopsies are bad, they spread cancer.
They were, yes,
Well, a biopsy is taking a tube,
Okay.
throwing it into your tissue, taking a whole section of tissue out. So all of, no matter if it's nerve, if it's layers of tissue, all of it starts bleeding into each other.
That's right.
So you've taken a plug of tissue, as deep as you do that biopsy into that tissue, all of that stuff drains into each other, and they don't belong into each other.
I thought they only did that to trees.
Yeah, and wells, the earth can get wells.
Is a tumor and a cancer the same thing?
Pardon?
Tumor and a cancer, is it the same thing?
Well, you could have basal cell cancer that's not tumor,
Tumor is just a collection of cells.
dead cells. Squamous cell or basal cell. The basal cell is more acidic and dissolves itself. Squamous cell develops. It's larger.
Cancer is squamous cells?
Squamous cells are usually, it's like a scaly growth that keeps growing. Your basal cell cancer starts melting as it grows. It just keeps melting itself.
You have an internal?
Oh, yes, you can.
Huh.
Yeah. A lot of bone cancer is that way. My cancer was that way. Dissolving the bone.
So why do people die from cancer then?
Yeah.
If it's kind of a detox,
Even if
which
you
you
don't
said
take the
earlier.
treatment.
Because they don't eat the proper foods, and it just gets more toxic and more toxic. They don't have the nutrients to clean. It's like you try to clean, let's say you're gonna raise this building and rebuild it, but you have no materials to break it down right, and all your workers come in and get toxic, they have no masks, they have nothing, they start tearing everything down, so they die and can't even get off the property. So you keep bringing more people in to do the work, and there are more bodies lying around. It just keeps getting worse, and you don't have the proper material, nor the vehicles to transport the decaying matter out of the system. On this diet, it doesn't change anything. People think that this diet causes more detoxification. It does not. There's 12 to 18% less detoxification that occurs in people on the diet than are off a diet. However, the thing that's different between this diet and normal eating, the SAD diet, standard American diet, is that you heal properly on this diet and after you detoxify properly. So you get younger and healthier every day instead of getting more toxic every day.
Each person's different as far as the time it takes them.
Absolutely. Well, no, I found that they go through different kinds of detoxes, and their body will take care of different parts of the body differently than other people. But overall, it still takes 40 years for everybody,
So they
if they're 100%ers.
talk about doing coffee enemas. Well,
That's not healthy.
I don't think so. And liver flushes.
Those aren't healthy. That's nothing to do with the primal diet. Those are aggressive ways of trying. It's like beating a child to get him to be behaved. It's not a way to do it. Do you have a question?
Me, I think.
Yes.
I've got a question about, a concern about the possible radiation emitted from the computer monitors on the backs of the receipt on the aeroplane.
The
Uh-huh.
computer what?
The computer monitors on the backs of every seat. On the back.
There's an LCD.
And so those okay, you think?
Yep. Not a problem. You can take a meter right up to them. They're not a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, for the television you're talking about, LCD?
Yeah, the monitors, yeah.
In airplanes.
Oh, airplane.
And so that's all right, eh?
They're all LCD screens.
And if the other head's a couple inches away, it's no problem. Eh?
No. The radiation fallout on the LCD screen is about 1.5 inches.
But they're in the back of your headrest for the person behind you.
1.5 inches.
Okay.
They're 4 inches, 6 inches thick.
Okay, that's it. That's
One less thing to worry about.
Yeah. Mary Jo, do you have a question?
Sure. Regarding dehydrated foods, so if you mentioned that they might be like useless if they've been dehydrated, so it doesn't matter if they've been dehydrated at a very low temperature or if they're
Doesn't
then...
make any difference.
No.
If I dehydrate you and you die at a low temperature, you come back to life.
I'm really spiritually powerful.
Well, congratulations. May I touch you?
Well, I mean, with like the minerals and the vitamins wouldn't some of those
You have to
remain?
understand, enzymes make use of everything. It's like if I go into a factory and I kill all my workers, are my managers going to be able to do anything?
Mm.
It
Okay,
takes
so-
the enzymes to make everything be utilized properly.
And so soaking something in mineral water wouldn't necessarily
That doesn't
resurrect
provide
it.
enzymes. What it will
Okay.
do, it'll start, if you take something that's dehydrated and rehydrate it, you'll have enzymes for decomposition that are starting to form, but not sustain life. A
Huh.
life of a growing, living substance.
So
It will be
there's,
for decomposition, for decay.
okay, and might,
Same with freezing foods. You freeze a food, Immediately, what does it do? Every cell will go start into decomposition.
Could that be useful for any detoxification process in the
Long
body?
smokers could use that. That's why I tell smokers and other people who have lung problems to eat ice cream.
Eat ice cream.
Eat ice cream.
What about the sugar?
Pardon?
You mean the raw ice cream?
Raw ice cream.
We're not talking about, when I'm talking here, everything's raw. We're not talking about coffee enemas, coffee's cooked, all that stuff. We're talking about raw foods only.
But with this ice cream, I haven't ever made the ice cream. According to your recipe, do you freeze it? Or not?
Well, when you do it like that, you froze it.
So you're saying that frozen ice cream, according to your recipe, is good for smokers?
Good for smokers and anybody who has lung problems, emphysema, asthma, any of them.
However, rehydrating something dried that's in some kind of that has all these decomposition enzymes isn't necessarily a beneficial thing. So there are no like herbs that could be dried at low temperatures and then soaked and then used to facilitate.
Yeah, you can. You can create that. That's what some of the stuff I'm going to go over in the detox book. And you could take molds of anything and enzymes for deterioration of anything and help get rid of it. You know, of similar substances in your body. Like if people lived on, you know, let's say I ate a lot of sugar crisp. When I was a kid, I was boxes of, sometimes a couple boxes a day when I was in school, you know. When I was in college or high school, and I was, I ate what I wanted to. So, sugar crisp, rice, puffed rice, basically with lots of sugar on it. So I used to take rice and let it break down into a mold and then eat it, help clear some of that out of my system. Every food that I've eaten cooked, I eat moldy. I've eaten moldy to help clear it out of my system. Because when you cook a food, you destroy all the natural ecological breakdowns that naturally occur to help you eliminate waste products of any food. They're cooked, they're destroyed. So how do you replace them? You have to grow them and ingest them.
Okay. So there's hope and usefulness in the future for dehydrated herbs and other dehydrated
Well, I prefer you
foods.
don't dehydrate them. I prefer that they, you get them moist, you break them up, and cause a different kind of a mold, so it's a little bit more active. You'll have more enzymes even if you create a mold on a fresh food than you will on a dehydrated food. There'll be a lot less enzymes on a dehydrated food.
How long until your detox book comes out?
Oh, let me tell you, so many complications going on. It'll get done when it gets done. Probably June.
Oh, this year?
No, next year.
Oh, next year. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Aajonus,
Yes.
explain how eating ice cream is going to encourage the planes in the lungs, the detox in the lungs?
Well, I didn't create the world.
You didn't?
I created my world, but not the world in general. I just watch what it does. And I noticed that in all of my patients that had lung problems or smokers, that when they had ice cream, within hours sometimes, they would start coughing up mucus.
So is this something?
So this is something I learned over a 10-year period by observing what happened. Pardon?
You don't know why?
I don't have a clue why it does it on those people, mainly those people.
Well, you just said that the enzymes form a decaying.
Yes, but
And
why
that-
does it go to the lungs and not somewhere else? Why not the liver? Because the liver deals with fat more than anything else. I don't know, but it goes to the lungs.
So if you're in a lot of polluted areas, then you could take ice cream and help.
Probably. If the pollution absorbed into your lungs, sinus and cavities.
Is there a particular brand of ice cream makers that you recommend? Or?
Donvier.
What is your phone
Don't
number?
be
The hand crank Donvier.
What are you doing?
Do you have a phone number?
Find it on the internet.
Find it on the internet.
Yeah.
Donvier, Donvier.
I don't know if you don't have an internet.
V-E-I-R.
I found it at the yard sale.
Donvier.
How do you don't have an
V-I-E-R.
internet? Is there any other way you can
Go to a library.
D-O-N-V-I-E-R. It's a hand crank.
Go gourmet
I
shop.
found a couple there.
Any particular one that you saw?
And the Donvier is nice. If you get the electrical crank ones, you know, you're putting EMFs directly in
Hand crank.
your ice cream. When you hand crank, use a hand crank, you only have to turn it every 5 minutes. You go to it, churn it for a minute out of every 5 minutes, and 20 minutes, 25 minutes, you have ice cream.
Does somebody have it that I can call
Internet.
them and get their phone number?
On the internet.
I don't have an internet.
Give me your phone number and I'll call you.
It's 310.
Later. Abraham, do you have a...
Yeah, this diet good for people with mental problem.
mental problems?
Yeah.
It's the only diet they should be on.
Yeah.
And they should have lots of protein and more of the alkalizing proteins with the acid proteins. So they should be mixing red and white together. They should not eat red meat alone.
Not eat red meat if you're...
At the same
If
meal,
you have mental
mean?
problems,
At the
at
same
the
meal?
same meal,
So chicken and meat.
chicken and fish and beef all together, preferable way.
You were talking about beef colon for nerves, would that be kind of related?
No, it depends on the person's, mental problem, the chemical imbalance that's causing their mental issues. So it has to get specific in those cases.
You told somebody that when they have their juice in the morning, they should have meat. But you told-
45 minutes to an hour later, yeah.
Yeah, but you told me in my consultation that I should have eggs first. So it's different for everybody.
Well, that was for the time that I saw you, and that was for a year. Whether you still should do that, I don't know. Whether I would still recommend that, I don't know. But you had some toxicity, some kind of chemical toxicity that needed to be pulled out after a sleep state. But the way you can remedy that, you have juice, and then you can have your eggs and meat together. That's the way I do it. And especially now, because I can't chew, so I have to chop my meat and make it very slimy and just, let it slide down. You guys didn't get it. I got mugged in Thailand, so they broke my jaw. She was wired. So, do you have a question?
Yeah. I read across this taped lecture by, I think his name was Dr. Wallach, but I can't remember exactly. Anyway, the main point that he made was, he said the longest living people, he quoted about 6 tribes or 6 nations. They were like the Hunza, the Titicaca, and about 4 others. And he attributed their longevity to them living at high altitudes where all the crops were fed by mineral glacier water, which was like very milky because it had a high mineral content. So essentially what he was saying, their longevity was due to the fact that the water they drank plus the food they ate was irrigated with very high mineral content. Is that true at all?
Well, I've heard that theory. I've heard that theory since the late 60s. There's no proof of that, and no one's gone into to see if there's a difference. There is a group of people in Georgia, Russia. It's not high altitude, and they are the longest living. National Geographic did. I mean, they're not high altitude, maybe 2,000 feet. They lived to, I think the oldest one was about 166, 168. And the average was about 127, 130.
What did they
And
eat?
there was one couple that was married for 92 years, and that was their second marriage.
60 Minutes did a special on it.
Did they?
Yeah, it opened up with the man 105 going to his mother's birthday party. And it was, they
Great.
walk up and down mountainous terrain all day. The cameramen couldn't keep up with them, the young guys. But they drink, they smoke. But the most important thing I saw, they had a family love that was so incredible. The grandparents, great-grandparents, great, all live together. And they are the teachers of the young, and they're nurtured, and they're loved. And there was such a close love bond between them all. That was the most important.
Well, there's lots of those tribes that way all over the world,
Yeah.
and they still have diseases depending on what they're eating. But they eat lots of raw meat and lots of raw eggs.
Oh, they
The
do.
Georgia.
Yeah, with National- Yeah,
Yeah.
National Geographic and those Discovery channels shy away from those. Discovery Channel called me 4 times over the past year talking about doing a show, and every time they get scared. So they don't like to present anything that goes against the medical profession. So they don't present to you what people really eat. You know, the Fulani and those kind of people, they do because they're Africans and it's okay. But when it comes to a white man eating that way, they do not publish it. They have scheduled me for a filming 3 times and canceled.
They canceled, you said?
Canceled. I filmed it 3 times already. So, you know, you can't believe what National Geographic or those people say, because they are mainly academics who are making those documentaries, and they are very brainwashed, medically oriented academic people.
And also, they've got a job to keep.
Yes,
Right. They have sponsors to keep.
absolutely, yes.
What about Weston Price? I mean, do you think that?
Weston Price was an adventurer, he was not a scientist.
Mhm.
He lived very brief times, very short times with tribes. He really didn't get to know them, their culture, because most tribes, when I was traveling, would tell you everything but lies, unless you lived with them for a very long time. And they mistrust the white man completely. There are many things that the American Indian used to tell the white men that they would do for their strength and endurance, but they were very unhealthy to do, and they wanted the white man to hurt himself. And they would pretend to do these things. So Weston Price was an adventurer, he was not a scientist.
But he took a lot of photos.
Yeah, but you have to take a look. If I took those same photos, I can go into a civilization with a wide jaw and everything, and you can't call a wide jaw normal for that civilization, because you have all kinds of bone structures that are different. You can go into India and see the same type of bone structure everywhere in the world. You can go to Thailand, Malaysia, everywhere. Some people have big jaws, some people have little jaws. And even if they're eating healthy, you can go with the Maasai the same way. The Fulani, these people who have no diseases, and you have different bone structures. It's just a difference in nature. But he would take pictures of people and make these, like the Nazis did, make these huge extrapolations on it and base these theories on it. And it has nothing to do with fact.
So, Aajonus,
The only thing that I did agree with him was congested teeth. If they went off their natural diet that their body wasn't used to assimilating, whether it was cooked or raw, their teeth would bunch together and cause, buck teeth or double teeth. Or,
Right, because they would
yeah.
show a family, say, with 6 children, and the parents had the first 2 children while they were eating their native diet,
Right.
and then they went to work for 4 years at an American camp and had sugar and stuff, and they'd
Right.
show the next 2 children who had one clubfoot and they had messed up
Right,
teeth,
yes.
and then they'd move
Yeah.
back to their tribal land, eat their tribal diet, and the next 2 kids had normal.
That was the only thing I agreed with him as well. Francis Pottenger was the scientist. I mean, taking 900 cats over a 10-year period and giving them different diets and following each one specifically, photographing everyone at autopsy. That's science. That man was a scientist. And he proved that raw food creates health, and cooked foods, and depending upon the cooking and the processing, the degree, the worse the disease.
And I was just talking with someone earlier about this, and I am throwing it out there. So I was saying that your theory is that this diet is the optimal diet, but that the body can withstand a lot of assaults from cooked foods. So if, for example, what Weston Price was saying about their diet, say, being 50% cooked, even if that wasn't more than it was, that because they didn't have all the pollutants in the air, they didn't have, I don't know, maybe other factors to deal with, that they were still able to have that really nice jaw structure and be free of decaying
But you have to
teeth.
understand, these people ate 5, 6 foods at the most. So their bodies got used to it, even when cooked. There was a chemistry that the body learned. We have, what is it, somewhere around 642,000 new chemicals in the last 100 years. Bodies can't even get used to it. There's no way we're going to have health in here unless you're on a completely raw diet. I mean, there's no way you can handle the pollution in the air unless you're on a 100% raw diet. I mean, if you had to live in the, you know, the Tules, you know, with some native tribe where there's no pollution, you might get away with, you know, being that we came from a very toxic cosmopolitan society, you might get away with 10-20% cooked and be in marvelous health. But we're not.
Would you ask, where did you get the idea of start cooking food, or, I mean, you know, is that a European idea where they started cooking food, or? I'm just, you know.
There are lots of theories about why cooking started. There are many, many, many theories. And most of them are because if we watch the American Indians, when they used to do it, the Coster excavations in Ohio and Indiana show that the American Indians would migrate to that whole valley along the Mississippi River there, in the Ohio Valley, and they would stay there for about 175 years every time they do it. But they couldn't stay there for more than that without forming disease, because they'd hunt around the area, they would kill all the animals, then they'd have to rely upon agriculture. They'd have to rely upon plants and nuts and seeds and grains, cultivating them. You don't digest those very well. We're not men, we're not cows, we're not herbivores. So they started, you know, cooking them to be able to release and eat more of it and assimilate more of it, but then you have all the toxicity that goes along with it. So within 175 years of doing that, they started developing osteoporosis and other diseases. So then they would give up the land and then go, you know, become nomads again, get their health back. But they always had an inclination to be rooted. But when you root and your society develops, and you don't have refrigerators, meat doesn't keep unless you dry it, and then dried meat doesn't give you a lot of health because there are no enzymes.
Can I back up for a moment? Because this concerns me, if it concerns no one else, I'm fine with it. But, you know, I listen a lot, and I take what you say as truth in a way. And the one thing
You don't have to tee it up, you can come out with a question.
yeah, okay, that's how I am. But, like, I listened to the thing about the Indians and how they told us things to mislead us, so we hurt ourselves, whatever. And I go, well, where does that come from? I mean, I don't know where you learned that, or, because then I take it and go, oh, go tell the next guy. And, you know, I don't know where, I'd like to know, like, where's the basis of that? I mean, if you read it someplace, or?
No, when I was living with the Indians, the Yaqui Indians told me the same thing, the Mayan Indians told me the same thing, the Inuit in
I mean, that they
Alaska,
purposely
Eskimos.
did that.
Yeah,